The animated short was very interesting for two big reasons I can surmise. One, it delved a bit more into the relationship between our sibling and Dainsleif, and two, it showcased the sibling really does care about their twin, which is nice, because at the very least it confirms they also think of us as their sibling, as opposed to, you know, the other theories floating around suggesting the Traveler's mind was tampered with somehow and they aren't actually siblings. This is a much more wholesome approach. The entire short was meant to contrast the twins' journeys with one another, and for the most part it showcases Lumine's journey with Dain first, then the Traveler with Paimon doing something similar. Interestingly, the way this short starts out shows Lumine awaking in a field of grass at some points, I want to say after the Cataclysm, and for Aether, it's the same shot in what could legitimately be the same patch of grass. I mean, I know dandelions and sunflowers aren't exactly rare, but come on. We all know what's going on here, nigga. Symbolism. What makes Aether so unique, however, is that the earliest shots of him in this trailer are the first shots we get of him before he met Paimon, well, you know, after he got cast down by our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles. We know that Aether for months was just roaming around after he awoke before he met Paimon, but we don't really know what he was doing or where he was. Evidently, the nigga was just walking, bro. He was just walking. He was lost, dog. It's still a bit odd. He never decided to seek civilization in all those months? That feels like the first thing you try and do, but hey, what do I know? Now, the shot of them in the woods is quite literally, I mean, no debates, at the same spots. The rock is the exact same. The only difference is the color and the trees. Lumine's background is more green, despite having less trees. It feels oxymoronic. Well, Aether has more trees, but is less green. There's also still a bit of a difference in how the twins handle the new environment. Now, to be fair, this world wasn't as new to Lumine as it was to Aether, but even then, it doesn't really explain why nature responds more positively to her than it does to him. Lumine's version is brimming with life, and they are approaching her, whilst Aether's is just a solitary squirrel that dips as soon as he looks at it. I guess the food could be making the difference here, though. Damn savages. We then get one singular shot of Lumine in the Cataclysm, once again with a crimson moon shining like a star in the background. We also see them spend some time on the steps, and I'm pretty sure this is Mondstadt. The shot is odd because it shows them on opposite ends of the stairs, and we can see that for whatever reason, the side Lumine was on is now destroyed when Aether's there. Could be to signify the destruction the Abyss brings, but then in saying that, I feel like I'm starting to read way too much into it. I feel like a fucking high school English teacher, you know, just reading too much into shits. Maybe it's just the passage of time. We finally see Aether reel Paimon in, and in turn, we see Lumine's own Paimon has now joined her on what's now their journey, and his name is Dainsleif. Both sets seemingly started off their journey in Mondstadt, which is odd, given didn't Lumine and Dain set off from the Sea of Flowers? There's some bullshit going on here. Anyway, it's in these shots we're already noticing the difference just sort of fucking emerge even greater than before between the groups. Lumine is seemingly afraid of catching the fucking Black Plague, Black Death from Dainsleif, and thus they are 7,000 feet apart, doing their own thing. Lumine is taking in the scenery of the river, whilst Dain is just, he's just walking, looking at fuck all. By comparison, Paimon and Aether are side by side with one another, equally marveled by the fountain in the middle of the city. It's again in the fountain we see the POV switch to Lumine and Dain once again quarantining from one another. This noticeable pattern of these two not really being close once again rears its head in the next shot as well, when it showcases the two at a bonfire with some kids, and they are once again completely separated from one another. I mean, surely one of them must take fucking responsibility for this. Who's the Debbie Downer of the bunch, huh? To further this point, the next shot is Paimon sleeping with a smile on her head, and Aether sitting right next to her with his head right next to hers. Highest level of trust you can give is sleeping next to someone, folks. I wouldn't even be surprised at this point if we learned both Dain and Lumine have been awake since they met one another. The next shot shows Lumine in a river. I don't think this is the Ayaka River because I don't see some of the same buildings, although again, a couple centuries have passed, so you never know. That aside, we once again just see Dain in the back just lurking. This nigga thinks he's Batman, huh? Maybe he's the Debbie Downer. At least she got in the fucking river. Even took her shoes off for it too. Not even Ayaka could be fucked. Now, despite the apparent lack of whatever the fuck they're lacking, when something catches Lumine's attention in Inazuma, Dain does seem to pick up on it pretty quickly and postures towards her. The next couple scenes show their contrasting journeys in a sped-up motion, but what happens next is very interesting. We see the twins together, but only in POV shots of one another, and in it, we even see Ether place the Intivats in Lumine's hair. And now what's interesting is this should be before they came to Teyvat, but the background doesn't really give away anything. All we know is they were hardly together on Teyvat. The only moments they had with one another was when the sibling woke up the Traveler and they were trying to escape, but there certainly shouldn't have been enough time for them to make a fucking montage of happy moments when the world was burning to the ground. Hence why I say this should be before they came to Teyvat, and if that's the case, then this would also suggest the Intivats does indeed grow in different worlds.
A flower that is not of this world signifies, of course, flowers that do not naturally exist in this world. This is the signature of our full name, Rhine-daughter, also known as Gold. If there's anyone in this world who could create a flower species that does not yet exist, it would be her.
We then get a shot of Lumine in Clothar's old hut, with the box open and the mirror on the table. I'm assuming this was after her run-in with Clothar, otherwise I'm not sure why she'd be here. If nothing else, even if this is when her ideology began to become more, fucking radicalized, it's nice to see she hadn't, gone completely off the bandwagon to the point where everything must be cast aside in her war against the heavenly principles, and she's languishing over the loss of her brother. Well, I say lost, that probably wasn't the fucking best word to use, but we get one final contrasting shot at the end. Paimon with a big smile on her face, playfully dragging the Traveler's arm, urging us to carry on our exciting journey. Whilst on the flip, Dain just walks past Lumine, tapping her on the shoulder like, hey bitch, time to go. And thus they venture off into the harsh deserts. We do, however, then see two stars in the sky, which is eerily reminiscent of not just the opening cutscene, but of the Universitas Magistrorum quote, which may be the reason they winded up in Teyvat in the first place. Quote, "O Almighty Sovereign, the Universitas Magistrorum has provided the predictions you requested. The two stars have been captured by the world's gravity. After a lengthy orbital period, today, their paths shall intertwine once more." Now, given the song literally ends with "our paths will cross," and the Universitas Magistrorum quite literally told Ermin the same exact thing,
our paths will surely cross.
I'm getting an awful case of deja vu. While this short doesn't answer all the questions surrounding whatever happened between the sibling and Dain, it does, however, provide good context for what their relationship was like in the past. They felt like acquaintances more than anything else, who simply had a common goal: find their fates. They didn't make it to their journey's end for whatever reason, and now the sibling is extremely weary of Dain. Whilst Dain still apparently has the choice to either try and kill the sibling, like his intro card suggests is a possibility, or save her, like he said in the chapter preview.
Step forth if you have understood the meaning of your journey. Defeat me, command me to step aside. Show me that you are worthier than I to rescue her.
Regardless, I'm expecting a banger patch in 4.7, as it's looking like there will be blood.